Hi, I'm Peggy Farron. Welcome to the Understand Photography Show, where we talk about travel, nature, and fine art photography. Today we're going to talk about landscape and adventure photography with Andrew Slaton about active lifestyle photography. The Understand Photography Show is a podcast, so please subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher or however you listen to podcasts. And if you leave us a review, we really appreciate it. We also put the behind the scenes video on YouTube and on Facebook. Comes out every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Check out our show notes at our website, understandphotography.com, and that's understandphotography.com. There's no ing. It's not understanding photography. I have so many people add digits to my website. I don't know why. Anyway, understandphotography.com, and you'll see the Understand Photography Show. You can look back at old episodes. You can see all the show notes. You can see pictures from our guests. And while you're on our website, the first thing you'll see is it says click here for freebies. Click on that and you have a choice. You can get one or all of them. We have, we have lots of different choices. Essential travel tips for travel photography. Which camera do I buy? How to get tack sharp images every time. That's a really popular one. 30 unique gifts for photographers, things like that. And you'll be put on our mailing list. Our mailing list, we send out a newsletter once a month, so we're not going to bombard you with a lot of stuff, but the newsletter comes out once a month. So let's talk about Andrew Slaton. Now, Andrew is a world traveler. He's won lots of international awards. He is traveling full time, which is really interesting, so we're going to talk about that. He's been widely published in newspapers, magazines, books. He and his wife travel full-time in an RV, so we're going to talk about that. And he also teaches workshops and creates stock video footage. So welcome, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
And you go by Andrew, right?
I do, yeah.
Not Drew or
I tried to go by Drew like way back in the day, and it never stuck. So I just stuck with Andrew.
Andrew is more sophisticated,
isn't it? I'm a very sophisticated person.
So tell us your biography. I mean, as it pertains to photography, first of all, how long have you been on the road?
We've been on the road for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years in June. Yeah. So.
And how long have you been a photographer?
I've been a photographer since 2003. I think was my first year when I professionally started shooting. Actually, no, I take that back. It was in college. I was still in college in 2001 or 2002 when I got my first newspaper gig.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, so I studied photojournalism at the University of Texas in Austin, and so I'm one of those, people that nowadays everybody's self-taught. I went to school for it. It doesn't matter anymore. You don't even need to go to school for it. I wish I hadn't spent that money, but
well, you have a degree.
I do, yeah.
You never know when you're going to need that degree.
I've never shown it to anyone. Never shown anyone my GPA.
You just never know, though.
You never know. That's true. So yeah, that's kind of where I started out.
Okay.
Started doing some newspaper stuff with that journalism background, and then quickly realized that I didn't really like the newspaper game.
Okay.
It's kind of one of those things where you start at a weekly, and then you work your way up to a larger weekly, and then you work your way up to a daily, and it's just. And as we see now, the industry's dying.
Yeah,
so
that's a crazy job.
Yeah, glad I didn't stick with that. So that's kind of where I started. I started moving into commercial and editorial.
Mm-hmm.
I apprenticed under a couple of really good photographers in Texas, and that's how I started sort of learning that side of the business. And then I've just kind of stuck with that. And then about 4 years ago, my wife, I was shooting a lot of weddings and portraits in Dallas, and my wife said, I can tell that this is kind of wearing you down, and I want you to be able to pursue what you really are passionate about, which is landscape and nature and active lifestyle photography. Everything outdoors, anything outdoor photography related. And so she said, I don't care if we're poor for a while, just let's go do it. And so we got rid of everything in Dallas and bought a truck and a travel trailer, and we've been on the road for almost 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, is your wife a photographer?
She actually dabbles some. So she's been a second shooter for me in weddings and events and that sort of thing. So she definitely has the aptitude for it, but it's not something that she does every day.
Okay,
so, yeah.
okay. So what is her role in your travel?
She she in her own right is a businesswoman, and she actually is a certified yoga instructor. So we're that cliched millennial, age couple that is a photographer and a yoga instructor, living on the road, not van life, but she's a certified yoga instructor. She teaches retreats all over the country. We kind of try to plan it around my workshops. So she'll teach retreats for women across the country. So it's really cool. Yeah, she has kind of a heart for younger moms and empty nesters who just kind of need to get away, and they need to sort of breathe and relax. And
when we were on, I did a photo tour workshop in Tuscany.
Yeah. Oh.
And this past fall. And we're doing another one. We've got openings, by the way. But anyway, we ran into a group it was a yoga group.
Yeah.
Traveling to Tuscany.
Yeah.
So they would do yoga in the morning, or I don't know what they would do, but we would run into them in the little towns.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we know you.
It's a big deal now. Yeah. It's a big deal. So that's what she does. She's kind of she likes to nest a little bit, and so she takes care of the dogs, and she's a phenomenal cook, and so she's constantly making us healthy, yummy meals.
So tell us, how did you plan all this, your big escape?
I wish I could say that we planned really well for it.
Now, you told me you didn't even have money saved up.
We left with pretty much no money.
Wow.
So we made the decision, I'd say, sometime in 2015. And then so the planning that went into it was basically we had to figure out, what did we want our life to look like? And so what tools did we need to help us get there? So we kind of ruled out the van life thing. We want to have a bathroom, and we want to, we want to be comfortable. We wanted longevity out of this. We ruled out a motorhome because, I like to go down back roads and search for images and that sort of thing, scout a lot. And so I knew I wanted a four-wheel drive truck. And so that kind of led us into a travel trailer. So we started getting rid of everything in Dallas. It was kind of a slow process of selling, giving away, all of our stuff, then trading in vehicles so that we could get a truck, and then searching out travel trailers that would sort of fit our needs and all of that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit of a process. And then I guess the last thing we did was we had one big garage sale. And I think we made $1,500 or $2,000. Nothing big, but enough that it sort of, at that point, we were ready to go.
You had gas money.
We had some gas money, and we were like, all right. And part of the goal was to see all of the national parks.
Okay.
And really just see the whole country. We want to see, we have a beautiful country here, and it's so big and so varied. And the landscapes and the wildlife and the people that we knew we would encounter was really what sort of started all of this.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know how many miles. I think we're 150,000 miles in. My truck now has 225,000 miles on it.
Wow.
It's barely hanging in there. But we still have so many places that we want to go.
You can never ever go everywhere.
See it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just can't.
So how do you, and I know I'm going to talk more about photography soon, I promise.
Yeah.
But how do you make money?
Yeah, it's that's been the biggest challenge, because when we left one stationary home, right, my wife gave up all of her business, basically, most of her business, her day-to-day, teaching yoga classes, and then I gave up at least 60% of my business.
Well, all your contacts are there in Dallas,
yep.
not in...
Not all of them. I do have some clients that I had started to build across the country, but for the most part, 60-70% of my business was gone. And that was a huge part of our income. And so we knew that it was going to be a little bit of a leap of faith, not a little bit, a big leap of faith. So I have sort of my pillars that I call them of income, because I can't just rely on one set of income, stock photography or, editorial assignments or portraits. I still do portraits. And weddings. I still do those. I couldn't rely on just one of those, because if one of those is not doing well, right, then the whole house comes crashing down. So I have several pillars. One of them is selling prints, which has been one of our biggest money makers. I
Okay.
didn't think it would be, but
Okay.
but just selling artwork has been pretty big because I can do that all online, and then I can have it shipped out. So I used to make prints in our travel trailer.
Oh my
On
goodness.
my own, yeah, but just the beating that printer took, I had to I started farming it out. But so I do prints. I have stock photography, so I have my agency out of LA that I regularly upload a lot of work to them, both still and motion.
Okay.
And then they distribute it, and so then I take 50% of whatever they sell. And then workshops. I teach workshops in Big Bend National Park, Everglades National Park, Grand Teton Yellowstone, Scotland, and Telluride, Colorado.
Wow.
So
Scotland seems to be the odd one in there.
it is, right? Well, I've seen so many people doing Iceland, and Iceland looks amazing. But I wanted to try to identify what maybe would the next hot place be. It's not quite the next hot. It actually is in
It's
Europe.
I was
in
gonna
Europe,
say, a lot of
everybody
people-
in Europe goes to Scotland.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time before it happens here. But we went. I wanted to give my wife a gift, a vacation, and she's of Scottish descent, and so I thought it'd be really fun to go back and sort of see where your people came from. And also, I'm obsessed with Scotland, and I grew up obsessed with Braveheart, and so of course I wanted to go see it too, and it looked beautiful. All the
It
pictures
does
that I
look
saw
beautiful.
of it. So we went for the first time back in, I think it was 2014, and then every year since we've gone back, and I've led 3 workshops there now.
Okay.
So so it's
And the more you do them, the better you get at it.
exactly.
You get to know the
You
area,
find
you get
new
to know
locations.
the people.
and- yep. So that's one of my favorite ones to do. But so workshops, and then I also do editorial and commercial assignments.
Okay.
And that's just, somebody calls up, let's say a outdoor clothing brand or something calls up and says, hey, we need you to shoot, this piece and that piece and capture, this in this location. And so we'll go do that. Those are becoming a little bit more few and far between.
I was going to say, how do you get that kind of work when you're on
It's
the
hard.
road?
It's really, really hard. The
Because-
good thing about that is that it's not location dependent, but still, the mindset in photography is still somewhat location based.
Right.
Right. So, like a magazine will say, we need, a shot of Dealey Plaza, right? And so they'll look for Dallas photographers.
Right.
So I get left out of all of that.
Yeah, even
But-
though you probably have plenty of pictures like that.
Right.
Okay.
So the way it works out for me usually is I have a relationship with that magazine, or I have a relationship with that clothing brand or whatever. And so they know that I'm on the road. And so they may reach out months in advance and say, hey, where are you going to be, in April?
Okay.
We need this, this, and this. Can you make that happen?
Okay.
So that's how it's worked out.
So the relationships, how do you maintain relationships like that when you're on the road?
That's a good question. Trying to stay in front of them. It's just like, the photography game of old, where you send out the mailers and you try to stay in front of people. I listened to your podcast on mailing lists and sending out your regular mailers, and I used to do what you did back in the day, where you'd send out like a physical
Newsletter?
newsletter, yeah. So it's doing the newsletters now online, like MailChimp or one of those.
Yeah, that's what I do now.
But then I also try to do a promo piece. Actually, I wanted to bring that in for you. I've got a promo piece for you because I created a magazine.
Okay.
Over the last 3.5 years, we compiled this 100-page full-color magazine that the purpose for it was to send it out to potential new clients, magazines and clothing brands and that sort of thing. So,
And is it kind of almost like a catalog of your work?
sort
or
of, yeah, sort of. I'll bring it in. I'll let
Only
you have
in
it, yeah.
magazine format.
Right, yeah.
How much
And we
does-
wrote articles and
How much does that cost you, though, to send out?
so,
That's got to be really
So here's the way I
expensive.
figured. I had this epiphany after we had decided, okay, this is what I need to do.
Okay.
I realized, because we were writing articles for it, we put recipes in there. It's called Nomad Magazine.
Okay.
So it's all, nomad related. I did portraits and interviews of very interesting characters that we found along the way.
Okay.
And so what I did was I realized that maybe the public would enjoy seeing this magazine. And there's kind of a new thing going on right now with little boutique magazines.
Yeah, I have noticed that.
So, so I decided, well, I'll just sell them online. And so I sold enough of them to pay for all of the printing. Because it was expensive to do it.
I was going to say.
Very expensive. So yeah, so it worked out. It worked out nicely that way.
Wow. So you but you're very selective on who you send that to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some of my, big bucket list clients this year. So we'll see. The Nat Geos and people like that.
Okay.
That I always grew up wanting to shoot for. So.
Now, what about selling your prints? You say you sell them online. That's tough.
It is very tough.
But you're doing it.
Well, I think we have a really big network of fans and clients from back home.
Okay.
And so that's part of it. But the big challenge is really reaching out and finding new markets of people. Because they're out there. People want, beautiful photography on their wall. They want that. The problem is, which I'm sure you've come across, there's so much of it out there that it drives the price way down.
Yep.
And so you have to figure out, how can I show that this is higher quality, this is more unique than a lot of that stuff out there, and try to market it that way. Because I feel like what you and I do is above the fray.
Right.
There's a lot of great stuff out there, or
Yeah.
I would say good stuff
Yeah.
out there. But how do we, as professionals who've been doing this a long time, how do you differentiate yourself? And that's becoming harder and harder.
Yeah.
But it kind of pushes us to be better, I think.
Okay, but you're doing it. You said that's a
We're
good
doing
part of
it.
your income is.
It is, yeah.
That's
Usually what I'll
awesome.
do is I'll do big sales. So I'll wait until my printer sends me an email and says, hey, we're giving 40% off,
Okay.
for fine art prints or for canvas or for metal or whatever. And so then I pass that on to my people and I say, hey, I'm offering you 30% off, this week only, or however
So you'll
long.
have a bunch of sales.
Yeah,
Okay.
a few will trickle in over the year, but it's almost all from those, like, I'd say 3 or 4 sales a year.
Well, you said you listen to my newsletter podcast,
Yeah.
and I today I was talking to Heather. Why can't anybody look at the schedule? I get emails
Yeah,
and phone
I know.
calls. When's the next time you're going to do this or that?
I
And
know.
the other thing, it's like on the website.
It's all
And
there.
It's
Yeah.
people who have done it before.
Right, yeah.
But when I send out my newsletter, I immediately make money.
Yep.
Because then people go, oh, you're holding that class, you're
Here it
going to
is.
Tuscany.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been promoting it for 6 months.
Right.
But all of a sudden they see it in the newsletter.
You've got to be in
So
front-
like you said
yeah.
you send out a blast or whatever
Yeah.
saying, hey, I got this stuff on sale. And it
Yeah.
kind of like, that's the trigger to,
Yeah.
people need that trigger.
Well, I think we have such short attention spans nowadays.
Yes.
Just in front of our
We're
screens
also
all the
busy,
time. We
too.
are, yeah, and we're all busy. And so if you can catch the person at the right time, what I'm trying to figure out is, what is the balance between being annoying,
Me too.
and just staying in front of people enough, right? That's a delicate balance, and I don't know if...
I have once or about 3 times a year, Southern Photo Technical Service comes to my studio to clean cameras, clean sensors.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And they came last Saturday, which is late in the month.
Okay.
And I didn't want to put another newsletter out because I
Yeah.
didn't want to be annoying. But
Right.
then I got all these people like, I didn't even know. I was
about
like,
it, yeah.
it came out January 2nd. I said they were coming. It was the 25th. It wasn't that far in advance.
Yeah, it's a
But for
delicate
some reason
balance.
they needed to know, and so next time
Yeah.
they come, I'm just going to send it out because
Yeah.
I don't even make any money off of that.
Right.
That's just a service I'm
Yeah,
doing,
that's a
know?
benefit to everybody. Yeah.
Because it's, to clean your sensor, most people can't do it
Oh,
themselves.
it's very
And Miami is
intimidating.
2 hours away.
Yeah.
So
Oh, they come over from Miami. Wow.
we don't, this is Naples, we don't. We don't have a lot of big time stuff. All right, so your stock stuff. Now
Mm-hmm.
you said you are with a company that gives you 50%.
Yeah, they're one of the best
And
in the
how do you
industry.
get involved in something like that rather than
So-
going to Adobe and getting, .0000001
pennies.
cents per?
I don't even mess with any of that stuff. And in fact, for me, it's sort of a principle, because these stock agencies are pardon me, but they're screwing photographers right now.
I know.
And part of it is just the way the industry is going. So part of it is, okay, we just have to realize the market won't bear, great prices for stock photography for much longer. It just won't, because there's such a flood of good photography out there.
Right.
But I came across this agency. They're a little boutique agency out of Los Angeles. And it's run by a fellow photographer who's won the Ansel Adams Award several times. He's really great, super nice guy. And he had all these relationships with outdoor magazines and outdoor retailers and all of that. And so he created this stock agency and brought in, you have to apply and that sort of thing, but he brought in a lot of great photographers to contribute to this. So it's really high-end stock.
Now,
they only take really, really, really high-end images. Otherwise, they just I'll tell you, not to this actually will give you a little bit of insight. I will upload, let's say, 100 images. They will take about 5 of them.
Okay.
So
and you think they're
I think they're great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think they're wonderful. I think they're like well worth
right.
stock photography, but so they're incredibly. Sometimes they won't accept any of my images. So.
And
it's a reality check.
And is this an exclusive agreement? You can't use that image anywhere
No,
else?
that's what's great. Is
Wow.
It's non-exclusive. I can sell that image. I just have to let them know and say, hey, I sold this one, so that they know what the user agreement is. But no, they're non-exclusive. They're wonderful. They're a photographer's stock agency.
And you do video as well
I
with
do,
them?
yep. Because
Okay.
video sells really well right now.
And you use a DSLR for video?
I do,
Okay.
yeah. And I just got a drone, so I'm starting to do the drone thing too. I didn't want to become an annoying drone person, but I am now. But it's just the way of the industry. We have to be able to shoot video now. Every client now expects stills and video.
Yep.
Now, most of my clients are expecting aerial capabilities, and so we just have to keep adapting. So.
Yeah, this is so true.
Yeah.
So true. So now, what type of photography are you, for your stock and your fine art photography, what kind of photography are you mostly selling?
Yeah, so for my stock, it's both, general nature landscape and active lifestyle. And then for my fine art, it's mostly either abstract nature or landscape, just straight landscape.
And what is active lifestyle photography?
So active lifestyle is basically people within an outdoor setting, right?
Okay.
So it can be, what I shoot most of is really just camping and hiking. It's not like climbing.
You're out there.
Yeah, because that's what we like to do. We're not. I don't really shoot a lot of hardcore outdoor sports or anything.
Okay.
A lot of my contemporaries, they do. They specialize in like mountain biking or climbing or, whatever it may be. I really mostly just shoot hiking and camping, general camping. So
how do you do that? Do you just find hikers and ask them if you can take their picture? Or
Right. So it kind of depends. So I always have my camera on me when I'm out hiking.
Okay.
If the light's good and I see somebody out there who I know like they're wearing the right gear, right? Because that's what sells, is like colorful clothing, colorful backpack, that type of thing. So if I know that they've got the right look, I might actually stop them and say, hey, do you have a second? Can I get a quick picture of you in that space? Or I might covertly, get a shot of them, and then if it's good, I'll run up to them and say, hey, will you sign a model release or whatever?
So do you keep a model release on your phone, or?
I have, yeah, and I carry them.
You carry paper too?
I carry paper in my backpack and all of my, yeah, just in case.
Well, no, we went to, we lead all these photo tours, right? And we were on a photo tour to Cuba.
Oh, cool.
And one lady, she was actually on the show, Joe Crebin, she was talking about selling stock photography, but everywhere we went, she whipped that piece of paper out and she had everybody.
It's the difference between you being able to make, let's say, $50 on an image versus $1,000. So it's worth the extra effort to get somebody to sign that model release.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I'd say I'm using friends or family members namely my wife. She's like my number one model.
Okay.
And she happens to be beautiful, so that's helpful. And she's just a great sport about it. She is in a ton of my images.
Okay.
Just because we're hiking and camping together.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's got the right gear and all that kind of stuff. So I can I can pose her, and I can help sort of direct a little bit. She really doesn't need much direction though. So a lot of the times it's that.
Okay.
So yeah.
So that's the stock stuff for is mostly camping. So you
Yeah.
kind of have a theme to your stock photography. That's interesting.
Well, it's mainly just because that's what we love doing.
No,
so we're out there
that's-
doing
no,
it anyway.
Yeah, well, I
So,
find it
yeah.
interesting just because most of the stock photographers I know they're either travel photographers because that's my age group, I guess. It's
yeah.
where everybody's into travel. Well, everybody's
Right.
into travel now, every
Yeah.
age, but
Yeah.
or they do city scenes of wherever they live.
I like to do that kind of stuff too. I
Yeah.
love cityscapes. I love landscapes. My deepest passion and what I love doing the most is landscape and wildlife. But I don't make any money really off of wildlife. I just do it because I love it.
Yeah.
I just
yeah.
love critters. So.
And I think okay, so I started as a wedding photographer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I took a class, like a week-long workshop from Bambi Cantrell, who's a very famous.
yeah.
You know who
Yeah,
she
yeah.
is?
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
She's amazing.
She's
but anyway,
fantastic.
she had at the time. This was 20 years ago, so But she had on Mondays. I don't know if it was every Monday. Maybe it was only one Monday a month. I don't remember. But she had like models come in, and
yeah.
they dressed them up in all these weird outfits and did weird lighting and weird.
Yep.
And she said, "This stuff will never sell."
Right.
But people see it on my website and they're like, "That's cool.
That's
This
so cool,
person is
yeah.
so creative." And I think that's what the wildlife does.
Yes.
People love to see wildlife.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even if they're not going to buy it to hang on their wall,
Right.
it'll attract them to your website. It makes your website
Absolutely.
look more interesting.
Absolutely, and it fills your soul. If if that's the type of thing that you like, that's why we love being out here. All of the incredible critters, and I'm a weirdo. I like catching snakes and.
Do you catch snakes?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I know.
My friend who I hike with, the first time we saw, we have a big problem with pythons here,
Yes,
right?
that's why I carry a machete now, because I want to help.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
The first time we saw one, he gets out of the truck, and we were with somebody else, and they all go back to the snake. It's laying in the road, sunning itself, right?
Right.
And I'm like trying to get my camera, and he tries to pick it up like a freaking idiot. And I was like, if you're going to do something that's stupid, wait till I get my camera out,
let me at least get a picture of it. Yeah.
Because that snake was...
Did it bite him?
Tried, but he was fast enough to get away.
Our
But
last time
that was
here in
so
Florida-
dumb. He tried
Yeah.
to pick it up.
Well, then you'll think I'm really.
I want to
dumb.
hear.
Last time I was here in Florida 2 years ago, I was leading a workshop in the Everglades, and I had just left the students. We had some rest time in the middle of the day, and I thought, well, I'm going to go out and scout a few more locations. And I stopped and started walking down this little deserted road. And as I was walking back, I heard something next to me, and I look over. It is a 14-foot Burmese python.
Wow.
This big around. And I just got so excited. I grew up watching
That's
Crocodile Hunter.
That's my friend Chris.
Yeah.
He gets so excited when he sees a
Oh
big
my
snake.
gosh, I get so excited and I start speaking in an Australian accent. And so I ran over to it and I tried to grab onto it.
You grabbed the
was-
head, right? Or
Well,
the neck?
I didn't. I was a little too intimidated to do that, so I grabbed its tail, which was
But then
not
can
gonna
it
help.
come around? That's what Chris did.
And it did. It came around, but it was kind of in between these trees. It was the most powerful thing I've ever put my hands on.
Oh my God.
And it just very easily slipped right away and went into the water and it was gone.
So it didn't
But-
strike at you?
It struck at me a couple of times, but it was just
It was just warning you?
Yeah, it was just warning me. It wasn't trying to do anything, but it was.
Did you ever? We have a local guy here who Dusty, who he has a show on the Discovery Channel.
Oh, how cool.
The Python Hunter or something like
Oh,
that.
how cool! Yeah.
That guy is nuts.
Yes,
He's
I'm
out
not
there,
that level.
He jumps on him with his whole body. He's
In
a
the
big
water.
guy.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I
And
don't
then
know.
he's carrying them, and they weigh like 200 pounds. And he's always barefoot.
Well, of course, that's how you feel them.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy.
Anyway, all right. So don't put those pictures on your website.
No.
I told you that, right? I'm never putting the pictures that I do on my website anymore on Facebook because people get scared and they're like, I'm not doing that with you guys.
Yeah,
but when we do our Everglades tours, probably same as you, people keep their feet dry.
Exactly. Yep.
It's, a lot of times they're on boardwalks.
A lot more civilized. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to worry about alligators attacking you or snakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, that's crazy stuff. So for the stock photography and the editorial stuff, well, the editorial especially, you're selling to like camping magazines?
Yeah, there's Backpacker Magazine, Outside. There's a bunch of them out there right now. I don't know how much longer magazines are going to be around the way they have been.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of shifting to more online, but they're still buying photography, so that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
And I have relationships with several of these magazines, and so I try to even back home, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and Texas Highways, and I still submit to them regularly so there's two different ways I might get editorial work, actually three. One of them would be through the stock agency. Mm-hmm. They sell my work to a magazine, and then I'll be picking up a magazine one day and flipping through and go, oh, that's my picture. That's one way. The second way is I'll get on the photographers' lists of each of these magazines.
Okay.
And once a month they send out a needs list. And they say, we're looking for this, and this. Look through your archives and see if you have it, or go shoot it. And so I'll do that regularly. And then the third way, which is the most fun and the most prestigious way, is getting a call and going on assignment, right? Those, for me right now, those don't happen as often. And actually they're starting to, a lot of the magazines now have an in-house photographer that they'll send out to do the more expensive assignments, because it's really expensive to send a photographer on assignment.
Yeah.
And then the photographer doesn't end up making a ton of money on that.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty low day rate, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I think all of us love that kind of thing where it's like, a client specifically seeks us out. They want our style and our eye, and they want us to go do this, go capture this. So I don't get a ton of those, but those are my favorite. I just love those.
So how do you go about getting on one of those preferred photographer lists?
So find out who the editor is.
Okay, can you just look that up online?
Usually you can.
Well, first you have to figure out which magazines are going to be a fit for your...
Yes, exactly. Do research. That's
because what if my style is like birds of Southwest Florida or South Florida?
Right.
Which it's not, by the way, but what if it was?
Yeah, what if it is? You want to set yourself up for success. One of the biggest pet peeves that I've heard from editors is that people don't do their research. And they will immediately discard you. If you come in and say, "Hey, editor," you don't know them by name. You don't address them properly. You haven't done your research as to whether you're a good fit or not, or you send them maybe a portfolio that's not tailored to them.
Okay.
They'll immediately discard you.
Okay, so first you find their name out.
Figure out
first you find out which publications.
Yeah, figure out the publications that you fit well with. And then figure out who the current editor is, because there's a lot of turnover.
And then the
photo editor, sorry. Like you want to, if you can, there will either be a photo editor, that's your first choice. If they don't have a photo editor, look for the art director. That's your second choice.
Okay.
And then your third choice would be like a general editor if they're a real small magazine. But if they're a national magazine, and even most regional magazines will have a photo editor.
Okay.
Find out their name, try to find their email address. That is sometimes harder. But you can usually do some super sleuth work, on the internet and find it. And then, tailor your email to that specific publication and specific person.
What would you put as the subject line? Because most of the time I have a feeling they're just going to hit delete before they even open it.
If you say, let's see, that's a really good question. You could,
I know.
You could say, what you could say is photographer's list. Just keep it short, keep it sweet. Like, this is what you're talking about, photographer's list, right? They're not going to, they're going to be less selective about who they send their photography list to than they are say, someone that they want to shoot assignments for them.
Okay.
So if let's say you say photography list, and then you say, not dear, you probably say, hey, Heather, my name is Andrew. I've been a photographer for, give them a real quick, I've been a photographer for 20 years. I specialize in this, this, and this. I would love to be on your photographer's list.
Okay.
Let me know if this is possible. Thank you so much for your time. That's another thing is I always, anytime I'm reaching out to somebody, I make sure that I let them know that I appreciate their time.
Okay.
Because we're all busy, right?
Yes.
And the worst thing is when somebody reaches out to you and they're not aware of your time, right? And they kind of disrespect your, the amount of things that you have going on, and they don't address that. So I just always say, thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Okay.
And then leave it at that. Make it short and sweet.
And what do you put in the body of it? Here's my a link to my portfolio, or?
Yeah, so it kind of depends. If I have like 4 or 5 images, it depends. Here's where the research comes in handy. Some editors and some publications really want you to send like 5 sample images in your email. Some don't want you to include any attachments at all. They'll immediately delete it if they get an attachment. Because they're worried about, if they're a bigger magazine,
Viruses
they're worried about viruses and stuff like that. So try to find out. They don't always tell you, but a lot of these magazines, if you go on their website, you'll find a page that's about editorial submissions.
Okay.
And it'll give you very detailed information on how to submit. And a lot of the big magazines will have that.
Okay.
So that's some good info. But so you either drag and drop a few sample images that are very tailored to that publication, or put a link to your portfolio.
Okay. And do you make a custom portfolio per?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, depending on the magazine.
Yeah, like if it's Nat Geo or somebody like that, I'll wait several years. I'll build a body of work that's tailored to that publication, and then I'll send it out. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And then you hope for the best.
You do.
And you don't become a pest, but you follow up maybe every 6 months.
You follow up, yeah. That's a good question. I don't know what the right frequency is.
Yeah, it depends on the personality who's opening those emails, I guess.
And I'll be honest with you. I've had there's one brand in particular that has been on my bucket list, and I reached out to them several times. I'd reach out once a year, and then I started kind of doing once a quarter. And I got to the point where I stopped getting any responses. Oh. And so I just gave up on that one.
You think you became a pest?
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
You never know what's going on with somebody.
They could have changed editors.
Yeah, exactly. So there's just a lot of things. Or maybe they looked at my work and they were like, that's not a good fit. Yeah. You just don't know.
Now, do you also get work from like clothing manufacturers and camping manufacturers and that type of stuff because of your work? And do you actively pursue those type of customers as well?
Yes, to all of that. Yeah. That can be some really good income because it's commercial rates to go shoot fun outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
It's a higher level game, right? Anything in the commercial world is a higher level game. You kind of have to put on the dog and pony show, but I definitely pursue it.
Okay.
And I get some of those sometimes. I haven't pursued it lately, but I've kind of been doing a little bit of a restructuring of how I approach things. So, but I will start going.
Story of my life,
right? Well, any artist has to continually reinvent themselves, right?
Well, especially, I think, in photography, because it's just, everybody wants to be a professional photographer. And if that, I'm a 60-year-old woman.
Right.
How am I going to change careers at 60? So I'm staying with photography, but I tend to try this,
Yeah, you have to.
So I get it.
Yeah.
So tell me, how much are you driving, and how long do you stay in different places? And like in 1 year, how many places will you have stayed?
That's a good question. It kind of depends, but I would say for 2019, I would say we stayed extensively in probably a dozen places.
Okay.
I would say.
And what's extensively?
Extensively, I would constitute as like at least 4 or 5 days.
That's extensively?
Yeah, I know. Well, it sort of depends on where we are, right? Because like when we're in Florida, we bounce around a lot. The only place that I stay extensively, I guess that is kind of a broad, 4 or 5 days probably doesn't quite capture it, because like we spent 5 days in Potts Preserve, which is just a little bit, I'd say 3 hours north of here, and I wouldn't really consider
I never
that.
heard of it. Where's
It's
that?
a little like conservation park that you can get a permit and go camp.
On the West Coast?
Sort of. It's a little bit inland.
In the middle? Okay.
So it's a little bit north, almost due north of Tampa.
Okay, Potts.
Potts Preserve.
Okay,
So we find all
I
these
just
random
like to
little
know.
places. Yeah.
Especially Florida. I love Florida
I
so
know.
much.
Florida is one of our favorite places. So I'd say the only place that I really spend an extensive amount of time is down here in South Florida. But I would consider the whole, like Naples all the way to Miami, and then all the way, Big Cypress all the way down to the Keys. We spend a good portion of time here. Then Wyoming, we spend months in Wyoming, because it's kind of where my heart got stuck.
Oh,
Like it's
so pretty
my
there.
heart just stays there for some reason. So
I'll tell you, all those northern states are becoming popular in photography. I mean, I had no idea. I had a guy on this show. I had no idea you could see the northern lights in Montana.
yeah, I know, I've still never seen them, but yeah, you can.
I mean, I didn't even know that.
It's crazy.
I mean, I guess it's not like Iceland is the place to go,
right,
but wow, that was so cool. So do you rent a campground, or where do you stay?
We usually,
And why do you move so often? Why don't you
We
stay
like
for a
to
couple of months?
well, it depends. We do, like last winter we spent 2 months in Arizona, like near Quartzsite, kind of out near Kofa National Wildlife Refuge. And then we spent 3 months in Southern California near Joshua Tree. And we paid $0 for campsites.
How'd you do that?
So our country is wonderful, and especially out west, it's a lot easier out west. But there is just vast tracts of public land. So you have BLM, Bureau of Land Management land, and then you have Forest Service land, National Forest. Those are all free dispersed camping. Dispersed meaning you just pull off of the road and you just camp.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like a little campground where you
Okay.
have a designated space and there's a fire ring.
But do you have to, how do you know where you're allowed to do that?
That's a very good question. It takes some research.
Okay.
But the vast majority of BLM and National Forest land is free to camp on. And they usually have a 14 or a 16-day limit. And since it's federal, it's pretty standard across the board.
Okay.
Yeah. But now there will be specific regional regulations that you have to be aware of. So what you could do, like let's say Joshua Tree. Let's take Joshua Tree for example, because that's a national park, right? So you can't just camp wherever you want in a national park. You know that with the Everglades down here. So you have to know where the borders are.
Okay.
And you can see it on a map very easily. But so for instance, that area, you would go to the local field office, which is really easy to find. You just in Google, USFS field office,
Okay.
right? U.S. Forest Service field office or Bureau of Land Management field office. And then you go in there and you ask them, all right, where are the places where camping is, dispersed? And so, I mean, I've just learned all of these things over the years because we like to camp off the grid. We have about 2 years in, we finally got some solar panels and we got a generator. So now we're fully self-sufficient off the grid. But every once in a while we'll pull into a campground and do what we need to do, plug in so we can get some work done and that sort of thing.
Now, what about the internet?
Internet is a challenge. It's a
Okay.
big challenge. But basically, I just use a hotspot from my phone.
Is
So,
that
like,
enough to upload pictures and sometimes
Thankfully, I'm not.
you go to Starbucks and
Yeah,
Panera
like
Bread?
if I have a wedding or something where I have a ton of images I have to upload, then we'll go to like a Starbucks or we'll go to a public library or there's a lot of different places. Really, I mean, like McDonald's offers free Wi-Fi
Oh,
now.
yeah.
So
but it's
just
always
about
just so
everywhere.
weak, isn't it?
It's usually pretty bad.
Who has the best internet?
Public libraries have pretty decent internet.
Public libraries.
Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of it depends, but they generally have pretty good internet.
That's good to know.
and
And,
then-
you could just hook up to their Wi-Fi on your
Yeah,
own computer.
exactly.
I didn't even know you could do that, I guess. I haven't been in a library in so long.
Yeah, we hadn't really done that a lot when we were stationary in Dallas, but then living on the road, sometimes you need good internet, and libraries are a great place for that. It's nice and quiet, and you can get work done, and it's free.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I told you before we started the show, I subscribed to this magazine called International Living.
Yeah.
And I'm like dreaming of living in, Ecuador. So I don't know. Anyway, but I think the internet, I go to Italy fairly often at this point in my life. And Italy's a first world country and their internet's terrible.
Terrible internet, yeah.
So it's like I can't live without the internet.
I know. It's very hard. You have to plan around that. And we see it as an opportunity because a lot of our country doesn't have internet. If you're driving, in between the cities.
Everglades.
Yeah. On your way out.
No phone service, no internet.
So we have to sort of plan around that. And so if we get to a place where we have no service, we sort of see it as an opportunity to unplug for a little while.
Oh yeah, that's why I like hiking in the Everglades.
Yeah.
I cannot check my email.
Right. So isn't it kind of weird though? The first hour that you're without service, you keep looking. Do I have service now?
Yeah.
No, I don't have service anymore. I can't check my email.
I know.
It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think it's really important nowadays to be able to just find some time to unplug. I know I need it because I'm constantly on screens.
Well, what I've been doing is, here we're very seasonal.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to really save my money so that I can travel.
Yeah.
And I swap houses
Oh,
in the
that's
summers.
smart.
So
Yeah.
it's a very inexpensive way to go somewhere for a long time.
Totally.
And that is I got to get away from here. Even though I love it here,
Sure.
I still need to get away from here
You've
because
gotta
this
be
is
able to do
work.
that. Yeah, exactly.
So I get that. So tell me a day-to-day, your lifestyle day-to-day.
Sure. I wake up, so it depends on the time of year, right? So let's just take, for instance, this time of year, sun is up by 7:15. So I'll get up at about 5:36, make some coffee because I'm worthless without that. But then I'll pack up and I'll head out, and I'll have an area in mind, usually, that I want to go try to get some shots. And so I'll go for a drive, I'll go for a hike, I'll explore.
All by yourself?
Yeah. My wife is not a morning person, so she loves it because I'm out of the trailer. She gets to sleep in, so I'll go shoot in the morning. I'll get home. It depends on how far I've gone, but I'll usually get home around 9 o'clock. I'll have some breakfast. We'll chat and catch up and stuff, and I'll upload images or I'll download images, start working on them, so that then I can have something for Instagram. Of course, you nowadays you have to post almost daily. And so I'm constantly creating content for that.
Okay.
Then middle of the day, it kind of depends on where we are. So lately here, we've been going to the beach because we're staying really close to the beach. So and my wife loves getting some beach time. So I'll actually
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't, right? So I'll go out there and I'll sit back and read, and I'll just kind of enjoy the middle of the day, or I'll respond to emails, or or that sort of thing. So middle of the day can either be relaxed time some days, or it can be just full-on work. And I'll be sitting at my computer, responding to emails, updating the website, blogging, posting to social media, thinking up, what's my next sale I'm going to do. Just, what it is, hustling.
Right.
As a photographer. So this time of year, come about 4 o'clock, 4:30, I'm packing up and I'm heading back out, and so I'll shoot sunset. And so I'll go to another location usually, or maybe I'll try the same location that I did for sunrise. And I'm looking for landscapes. I'm looking for abstracts. I'm looking for aerials. I'm looking for wildlife. Anything, and all in between. So then I come home, and my wife is usually making dinner. And so we get to have dinner together. I'm downloading and processing images, and then I put it all away, and we sit back and watch a show or something.
Okay.
And then go to bed, and then do the same thing the next day.
So how do you do the scouting? Is that done in the middle of the day?
Scouting's usually done in the middle of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do a little bit of scouting in the good light too, and that's just if I don't have a clear direction that morning or evening.
Okay.
And I just kind of want to see want to see certain places in the good light, see how it's looking. I might do a little bit of the scouting then as well, while I'm shooting.
Now, how many? Because if you're moving every 4 or 5 days, you're doing a lot of driving too.
We are, yes.
A big part of your life is driving.
Huge part of my life, yeah.
It's like my son. He's a musician. He just.
Constant travel.
He's always, when he was 19, when he started on the road, oh my God, I was a wreck because, especially now I'm on the highway, I see all these people texting. I'm like, my son is on the road somewhere. Stop texting. Yeah. It's so dangerous, but it's dangerous. A huge part of his life. Yeah. And I would imagine it's a huge
very,
part
very
of your
life. We traded, I always tell people, we traded a mortgage for a gasoline bill, basically. We spend a lot in gasoline.
Do you have an average, or do you know?
Usually my budget, it depends on where we are, because some places require more driving than others. But usually the gasoline budget is $500 to $1,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot of driving.
Wow. And why do you drive so much? Why don't you stay somewhere? Like you said, you stayed in California for...
Yeah.
Or you're just in a hurry to see everything?
I've been accused of that. Yeah, I'm
fear
kind
of missing
on
out.
To the next thing, right? I don't know. That's a good question. I think. I mean, my wife and I are both. Our disposition is to keep moving, and to kind of keep the wheels turning, keep being creatively inspired by a new place and new people, and it's kind of the opposite of what most of us tend toward.
Yeah,
like we want to settle.
You like to nest.
Yeah, and set down roots. But we both just love seeing new things and new places. But we have kind of our two main places that I'd say 3. Wyoming, we spend a lot of time there. Florida, we spend as much time as we can here.
In the winter.
Yeah. And then Texas, where is our home.
And are your families in Texas?
They're still, so yeah, most of our families are in Texas. Okay. And then I've got a brother out in Chattanooga, Tennessee that we get to go see.
It's a pretty area.
Beautiful, beautiful area. So I don't know, I think it's just, I love to be creatively inspired on a day-to-day basis. And that can happen in one place. But I think it's just my disposition to kind of
you like to keep moving.
Keep moving, yeah.
That's interesting. And you've been doing it for 4 years.
4 years now, yeah.
Wow, that is an exciting life.
We have finally started talking about where would we want to settle if we did want to settle. And I think we're still maybe 2 years out, but we've talked about Florida. We love it here.
I do too.
My ideal would be summer and fall in Wyoming, and then all winter here. So I think that's the dream for most people. So we have to figure out how to make that work. But.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome story. So just to wrap it up, what was your most memorable photo adventure?
Oh man, that is really tough. Most memorable. Honestly, probably the most memorable times for me are when I have an encounter with a dangerous wild animal.
Like the snake.
Or a grizzly bear.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of our modern life. We don't have these adrenaline pumping moments of danger. We live very safe lives for the most part. I mean, of course, driving cars is dangerous and there's crime. But when we encounter a wild animal, there's something about that encounter. Whether it's an alligator on the trail that's huge.
And you got to step on top of it.
You got to get around it.
Yeah.
Or a giant Burmese python, or a grizzly bear, or whatever, or a wolf. Whatever those encounters are, they sort of, for me, they're transcendental. They transport me to this time before my time. That is wild and free, and I don't know. There's just something about that. Now, I don't want to die at the hands of a wild animal. I'm not crazy, but there's just something about those moments that always stick with me. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't think I could narrow it down to one, but it's definitely with wildlife.
I get that though, because it's so exciting to see
very
wildlife.
exciting.
I don't even know why we get so, it's like turkeys.
Yeah.
They're turkeys.
Right. But it's
I'm
still
like,
so
oh,
exciting.
look, they're turkeys.
Totally agree. I totally agree.
And deer, why do we never get tired of seeing deer? Everyone feels
know.
the same way about deer, I think.
know.
Everyone wants to see deer.
Oh, come up to Wyoming in the summer and people will be pulled over. They'll start a traffic jam for some mule deer.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Our deer are so tiny here.
Same in Texas. They're like dogs.
Yeah, that's
They're
what I
about the
thought it
size
was
of
the first time I
dogs.
saw one from a distance. I'm like, look at
Yeah.
that dog. No. All right,
quite.
so what projects or adventures are coming up next? Now, you have an Everglades workshop coming
I
up.
do. It's not happening this year.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
get enough people on that one. That one's a hard sell, but you guys that live here.
We got the market, baby.
You got it. You
Come to
nailed
us.
it. Yeah. So, well, I think also the time of year is so important. And I know that this time of year is really good for the weather and the lack of mosquitoes or less mosquitoes. So I chose it for that. But and the birds. I mean, the birds are
Birds are
phenomenal
all here.
this time of year.
I know.
But the next one for me is Big Bend. I have a really good workshop out there called Stars and Wildflowers.
When is that?
That one's in March. It's going to be, let's see, the 19th through the 22nd.
Okay.
So we'll still be in Florida, but I'll fly out for that one. And that one's really fun because what we do is we shoot. Big Bend is one of the best places in the country and the world to shoot the night sky.
Okay.
And so we focus on astrophotography. We still do a lot of landscape. That time of year is when all the bluebonnets bloom.
Oh my gosh.
And so you'll get this incredible desert landscape with bluebonnets everywhere.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
what's fun is I like to combine the two. So we do bluebonnet photos with the night sky. So that's a really fun workshop. That's
See, we
the
don't
next
get
one.
those flowers. The first time I ever saw those,
Yeah.
they're big in Texas, right?
They're very big in Texas. Yeah, it's the the state flower.
Okay,
of
God, they're
Texas, yeah.
pretty.
They're very pretty.
All right, so that's in March.
So that's in March. That's the next thing, and then I'll fly back here to Florida, and then we're going to work our way kind of up to the Midwest. We haven't really done much of the Midwest, and there's a few parks there that we want to see, and so we're gonna do that, and then work our way back to Wyoming.
I'm from Michigan originally, and it's beautiful. By the way.
I've always wanted to spend time in Michigan. So we're
Not where I'm from, Detroit, but
yeah. But the Upper
Actually-
Peninsula and you know.
and the West Coast
Oh
is
my gosh,
amazing.
yeah.
So
And
yeah.
now there's that, just across the border, there's the Indiana Dunes National Park. Have you heard of that? That's the newest national park, I think.
Oh, okay,
They just
that's why I
named it
don't
a
know
few
it.
weeks ago, yeah.
Oh,
So I think it's just
cool.
across the border from Michigan. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so
That'll
we're
be a
looking
fun
forward
trip.
to seeing those.
That Connie Meyer, is it Meyer? She is the one I told you who just retired and went with an RV.
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
and she, I think, is she from Michigan or Ohio or someplace like
Somewhere
that?
up
But she
there,
did
yeah.
Michigan. She did Wisconsin this year.
Oh, I want to do Wisconsin.
pictures are
Minnesota.
amazing.
Yeah.
You don't think of now. Michigan has always been good about promoting their vacation.
Yes.
But Wisconsin. But Wisconsin
Never hear
looks
about
just like
Wisconsin.
Michigan.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So
And
they're
North
doing
Woods.
better about, well, because people are traveling more, I think.
Yeah, I
So
think that's true.
now, what's your website?
It's andrewslatonphoto.com. Slaton is Slaton. A lot of people want to add a Y in there,
Yeah.
SLAY, but yeah, so andrewslatonphoto.com, and then I also have a workshop website that's slatonworkshops.com. I'm about to combine the two, but I'm still working on, anyway.
Yeah.
So it's two separate websites at the moment.
I know for me, I have a splash page. Do you want to go here or do you want to go here?
Right, exactly.
And then what's your Instagram handle?
Andrew R. Slaton.
Andrew R. Slaton.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Andrew Slaton Photography.
andrewslatonphoto.com.
Photo.com. But Heather will put all that in the show notes as long as, and you sent us some pictures, I assume?
Yes, I did.
So, yeah, we'll have that all in the show notes. Thank you for being a guest on the
Thanks for
Understand
having me.
Photography
This is
show.
really fun.
It was so nice to meet you.
Great to meet you as well.
It's so exciting, your life. I'm like very envious. And to our audience, I hope you do us a big favor and leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps us come up in the search engines. Join us next week as we talk with Joe Fitzpatrick about photographing in the Everglades. How about that? Everglades National Park. We are a permit holder there. Joe is actually leading 4 trips this season. In January and February, I got the man working, man. But they're very popular workshops for us at Understand Photography. I'm Peggy Farron. Thanks for watching the Understand Photography Show. We'll see you next Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Get up!